That was really good to hear. I also heard the same from the parents I spoke to. Or as I see it, you're not just sitting in an office. No, you're out and about. You can be anywhere. You can be with the kids. You can be with the adults. Everything. You're not just sitting still, and we've really noticed that, and I think I've also heard it from other parents. And it's not often you see a manager who walks around, gets involved in everything, and knows everyone. Like we say, knows every single stone in the building. Isn't that right? I I think so. Everything you've done up to now. It's not just me saying this. There are many who have seen it and said it. That you've done a really, really great job, and we all know it. There have been a lot of problems for a long time at Tyson as a relief housing facility. But what's happened now? Now there's a sense of security. There's security for everyone. First and foremost, it's security for the employees, security to prevent issues, and I think security for you as well. That you also feel comfortable working with the teams that collaborate with you to make that happen. So I think it's about the whole picture at the same time. We know that it can be the same either in other places in Sandefjord or in other municipalities that are still struggling. Uh, I want you to speak up and give tips to others who are running things. How should they work to address problems and what, which is a good idea. To do it before things start to get chaotic and before a lot of problems start piling up.
Yes. And of course, if I hadn't had the staff group that I have, my job would have been much harder. That was actually what I was most curious about when I started here. Where does it hurt? What are the challenges with this phase? And then I pretty quickly started to see that this is really about the systems and structures and the lack of them. The framework the employees had to work within was just not good enough for the team working at the site. They are so especially dedicated and interested in what they do. They go above and beyond, and their workdays are extremely demanding. Both because the children are very different, and every family and child has their own unique needs for accommodations. There are individual adjustments, and it's a very broad field we work in, but also because I think that to do this job well, you have to be more engaged than what's typical in most jobs. I think it tips over from being just professional to becoming personal and sometimes even almost private because it's impossible to work with children otherwise and not grow fond of you. So you end up forming such close bonds and strong attachments to the children and their families. I think that makes it especially challenging to balance on this line that we walk. But that's also what enables us to provide such good services in the end. And I think that as a leader, that's one of my strengths, that, like I said, I get involved in every little detail in the whole place. So I know the children, all the staff. I feel like I have a really good understanding and a good overview of everyone here. And that has allowed the staff to have that same focus as well. Because when I arrived, they had kind of gotten used to just doing the bare minimum. For many, many, many years, respite care was seen as a service for the parents. It wasn't a service that was supposed to focus on the content for the children. It was meant to be a service for the parents. But I kind of think the opposite, like, what is it that the parents actually need? Well, they need to know that their children are doing well. They need to feel secure, and that when they send off their most precious loved ones, they're well taken care of. That means we have to focus on how we provide services to the children. because then the parents are able to actually experience it as a relief. Because respite care is a new mindset. It's more than just sending your child away for a few days. If you're not sure your child is doing well while they're away, you'll just be tense and worried the whole time, and then you might actually feel even more exhausted when you get back home. Whereas if we focus on, making sure we turn things around so that your child can have the best possible experience based on what's important to you. So my hair is set securely to let my shoulders drop and really focus on something else because we know that everything is safe. And we also spent quite a bit of time on that, which also helped me build a really good relationship with the parents. What I did was, whenever I met with the parents or anything like that, I would give them my phone number and say, call me, get in touch with me, so that everyone knows if there's ever anything you're wondering about or concerned about, don't hesitate. Just reach out and we'll talk about it and figure it out together. And I think that really lowered the threshold for giving those small bits of feedback. And the staff could focus on working with the children and really concentrate on that instead of being afraid of angry and frustrated parents. Because for quite a long time, they had experienced many situations where parents were angry and frustrated. But that was mostly because they hadn't been able to get in touch with the manager who was responsible. So the employees who were actually doing their best for the customers given the circumstances had experienced this many times. So that was something they were worried about, and they found it difficult when that support was taken away. It made it harder for the staff to relax and focus on what was important, while also working hard to build a good relationship with you parents.
I want to deliver him and I wish that in many places in Norway, like I know they're struggling. They don't have to copy, but at least they can observe and learn. And that they try to do what works best for them. That's really important. People work with different children as needed. But what I think is really important is to learn from others who have been very successful. I wish. Do you have someone who can? Learn from the success that has happened in the class, in the same environment. Then they can contact you by email, whether they're from another municipality nearby or, of course, if you have time for that, it's absolutely inspiring and incredibly educational. We learn from each other, and that's really, really valuable, truly valuable. When something goes wrong or when something happens that I don't quite understand, we stop to address those problems and figure out why something went wrong or why things aren't working, and then try to do something about it. We can't just keep letting things go as they are. What I hope, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed, is that you'll get to see it. Out on the terrace to have that sense of security. For as long as we can because I know it's not easy, especially when you work for the municipality. The municipality might think, okay, this person has done a really good job. Maybe we can place them somewhere else where we need help or where we need someone to do a good job there. And then it's lost at the place where I had done such a good, stable job. That's what I hope if that happens. I don't want that, but if it does happen, I hope that the new manager or the new person taking over gets enough time with you. Will I manage that? That way, the knowledge you have and the work you've done will be passed on. How do you get the key to succeed? Do that in the future, but I hope you continue working on the text database.
That's my plan, because when you say that I get involved in everything and everyone, I really do. I end up getting very attached to both all the kids and all the staff. So changing jobs, that's not something I do easily. And when I do change jobs, I really put in the effort. When I switched municipalities, I worked there for a long time, for 9 years before we merged. Yeah, there are so many different things, and I think that here at Teksleåsen, it never gets boring, and there are always new kids and new challenges all the time. For someone like me who gets easily involved, there's always something to keep my hands busy here.
No, it's not always an easy job, and of course, you can't just say it's just a job. It's a lot of fun, but when it comes to residential care homes, we all know everyone who has worked or has children who are placed in respite care homes knows how demanding it can be, so it's definitely not easy. But I also think if it all comes from the heart, I think that makes a huge difference. I see how the staff look at you. I see when you talk to the child. Even if they don't have developed communication or maybe they've suffered, but they don't have language. But I believe they can feel when there's someone. They sense it. You can see it on the children's faces when they hear your voice, so I think that matters too. It's not just about what you've done, but I also think it's the love that comes from you. And it doubled the impact of the work you've done, even though it was really hard at the beginning and it was very tough. If it hadn't been for the love, I don't think so. It might have been a bit harder and taken longer. Ugh. I'm done with my questions, Tina. I don't know if you'd like to say something at the end. Yeah, it's up to you. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I think it's kind of exactly what you mentioned. It was about love, because even when I was 19, I was most critical about working with children and families, since I know I have a tendency to get overly engaged and involved and to take in all the stories and everything. Both the really wonderful things, I think, and it's great to take in all the good, but also all the difficult and painful things too. It affects me much more than I think is reasonable for me sometimes, but that's just how it is. But knowing that, it actually makes me really strong in my job that I get so involved. And of course, there's also that side to it. Can be a burden as well, because you meet so many people and stories that you want to help. And at the same time, you have a framework and certain things you have to relate to as well. And I have this idea that I want to fix everything I possibly can. And really, that's been my most important mantra since I started. And I also noticed that for a lot of people, it's not the kids who wear us out. It's all the systems and bureaucracy. And that's really been my most important mantra since the beginning, that I have absolutely no intention of being a difficult part of the system. The parents I work with here should never say that TINE is adding to their burden. My goal is the opposite. I want to help make their everyday lives easier wherever I can contribute. And that's kind of been the focus here, that we should make everyday life easier for you with what we can do.
That's really great. I just want to say a thousand thanks for your time. Fan on. For putting this podcast together. The reason for that is because we want to. We want to inspire others. We hope that others can listen and see that it's not something that's difficult. Anything is possible. And just roll up your sleeves. Do something with joy and take action on the different problems. And that's my job. From everyone who comes and from the other side, where you finally make it happen just like you did. So in the end, I just want to say 1,000 thanks. And I hope that a lot of people will find this useful. That people can both learn from it and maybe try to prevent something from going wrong or turning out badly. So, with that, I just want to say thank you to you as well. Good luck going forward.
Thank you for that, and thank you for letting me be a part of this.